Patrick Brito, hacker, straight from Serbia. Talk to us now, Patrick. Good to talk to you again. Although the timing is not favorable, this news arises now of the indictment. I wanted to know how you received this information, if it brings any news to you, right? What are the consequences of the news that we brought now in your case, in light of what we have already brought here? Patrick, good morning. Welcome.
Wonderful. So, good morning, Tolly. Pleasure to be here with you again with Councillor Borgo. I received my lawyer with serenity, who was not very happy because he said another indictment is, but at least this time. I won't be held responsible alone, but whoever hired me will answer too. Although I believe that in this case, the civil police investigator, Felipe Pimenta, he also has to be indicted because he was the one who made contact with Valmir. And I wanted to bring some news, if you allow me, of course, in relation to the procedure that has there in the São Paulo Internal Affairs Department. You're hearing me well, aren't you, Pitoli?
Perfectly, Patrick.
Look, here's the thing. Is it from that last time Derrite gave an interview? Which he said was going to be a priority for the Public Security Secretariat. All lies, all lies. I was heard, is that it? It runs there at the DCA, which is the Division of Auxiliary Inspectors there in São Paulo. I was interviewed for the first time in September by the then DCA divisional officer, who is Dr. Fernando Schmidt de Paula. At the time, I shared 1 gigabyte of proof. Then I was heard again now in January. I shared over 5 gigabyte of proof. My mother was heard both times, accompanied by my lawyer, Dr. Luciano Santoro. She was also accompanied by her own lawyer. My mother was only heard at the request of the public ministry because she was admitted to the Victim and Witness Protection Program. They didn't investigate, that's all. It is investigated by preliminary investigation, which investigates nothing. To investigate, they have to install an inquiry. Then I was recently surprised by the information that the delegate who listened to me was responsible for this investigation. Action Dr. Fernando Schmidt de Paula. He left the Internal Affairs Department due to involvement in the Gritzba case there in São Paulo, involvement with Rogerinho, who was the investigator, who was Gustavo Lima's security guard. Donna Rose herself mentions in the interview that she was the director of Internal Affairs, Rosemary Montero, and Banhes was removed from Internal Affairs because her nephew was arrested by the federal police with the involvement of Gritzba. And detail, before I'm heard. An emissary from the Department of Public Safety. She came to tell me the following: Pitoli, you will talk only about the civil police, but you will not talk about Kassab. I was forbidden to talk about Gilberto Kassab.
Can you clarify, Patrick, what do you mean you guided yourself to this?
I can't say that person's name, okay? But she's an emissary from the Department of Public Security.
She...
You said you couldn't talk about Kassab. I could only talk about the civil police.
All right, let's go.
And detail. I called her as a witness, Councillor Burgo, a police officer, the lawyer there in Araçatuba who calls Paulo de Tarso, who knows a lot about this investigation, and another hacker who also participated in this story. None of the people I called as witnesses were heard. Councilman Bordo saw it. I asked for access to the investigations. The divisional delegate, Dr. Fernando Schmidt de Paula, denied my access, said that I had no right because I was not the person being investigated or the whistleblower. And detail what people don't know, I was arrested here in Serra again. Brazil said that I was still committing cybercrimes here. I was arrested in November. I was imprisoned for 25 days. I only got out because a prosecutor who helped me. I made a deal. I got 3 months of house arrest. Then my life became hell. The civil police of Araçatuba asked for my arrest 2 other times since that interview with Derrite, and the delegate who Derrite said that he removed nothing. He still goes to, he's in Araçatuba. He goes to DAKE every day to work. He goes to Inter at 10. Then he goes to DAKE as SW4 Preta of someone investigated in Rio X. Nothing was removed. Now recently they opened another inquiry against me, and in February, the prosecutor swiftly filed a case that was more than a year old. Therefore, I continue to face persecution. They didn't look into any of my complaints, didn't remove anyone. So he dissolved it, lied, didn't uphold any promises, and I was banned from mentioning Kassab. Bolsonaro must be informed about this. So, like this, the civil police is no longer in a position to investigate anything. That's just the police.
Federal, and making it very clear, the indictment by the federal police is the tip of this iceberg. But the indictment by the federal police demonstrates that there are very concrete matters to offer the complaint and thus the crime, the involvement of the civil police of Araçatuba. Then there's no way. But staying is no use mechanism, you know? It's a shame because the civil police, the institution is glorious.
No, and I have amazing friends.
A lot. My advisor is a retired police chief, a person of the most extreme credibility in the institution. Now, some people are throwing the institution's name in the trash. With that, and it's no use I came to chase, okay? It's no use. I will do anything for the truth. How is the situation there in Araçatuba, who said they closed the investigation? Now, the federal police come and say, look, you are indicted for the crime of hiring a hacker to spy on the authority. It has already been demonstrated.
But where?
Excuse me, but where was this crime committed inside a civilian police computer? The state structure was used. I mean, what more do you need? For those in doubt, here is the indictment. It has been shown that the machine, a computer of the civil police, was used to spy on a journalist. My God. If this is already indicted, it is already proven. Is the other facts also not involved? Everything Patrick is saying, is it all a lie? Is it all an invention?
So my question is this, Patrick. Who heard you? Who heard yours, your version? Who decided to listen to you? Did the federal police hear what you have to say, or have they already said it? Leave here for Auri Verde, Patrick.
Not in relation to this investigation and that I was indicted together with Walmir, I was not heard. I was not heard by this delegate. Although I asked for access and such, we're going to ask for access now, right? That he indicted me. You have the right to a defense. And there are more people there who have to be indicted as civil police officers in the São Paulo Internal Affairs Department. In that procedure, which is Preliminary Investigation 3-2024 of the DCA, I was heard by Delegate Dr. Fernando de Mid de Paula. So the delegate is divisional, right? Who's number 2 in internal affairs? I was heard by him twice. The first time was a testimony of more than 6 hours. He was at his house. He heard me from his house, which he said was better. The second testimony lasted 2 hours. I rounded up witnesses. I shared 2 links with 6 gigabytes of evidence, including the Bauru incident, and he did not open an investigation. And I was in Kassab, and I was forbidden to talk about Kassab. So what I see, Pitoli, is the following. It's like the case of Gritzba. The ODHPP police spent 2 years investigating, did not investigate anything. The Internal Affairs Department kept investigating and archived it. Then, only after the federal police came and arrested a lot of civil police officers, including a delegate, are they now doing something, although placing the blame on the military police. So I see corporatism and not letting investigations move forward because of the involvement of public agents. And of course, yeah, you don't think you get here. A request from the Brazilian embassy to arrest me, that I would be committing cybercrime yet, although there is no new cybercrime investigation against me, and I am arrested here. I was arrested on November 1st. Several police officers came to my apartment. I was arrested for 25 days. Now, can you imagine what information like this that arrives is because it arrived from someone great? Huh? Because I am sure that Kassab, he's interfering in these investigations because everything you see, including this rehiring of Walmir's wife by Paulo Correa Jr. Paulo Correa Jr. is from Kassab's PSD, and I am prevented from talking about Kassab. So it's obvious that he's interfering in these investigations. OEO. Melt, what does he do? He doesn't do anything.
Patrick.
He doesn't do anything.
Hey, click on the link so we can make the link for those who have been following this case. Is it in relation to the case of espionage, the involvement with Adelio Bispo, the hacking of President Bolsonaro's children? Have you been interviewed by the São Paulo Internal Affairs Department, or are they also preventing you from reporting these facts, this involvement that connects, as you already told Gilberto?
Kassab, and why the importance of this question? Patrick, it is and is important to make it clear to my audience that for months you have been charging me about moving this case forward. How was the commitment of the Secretary of Public Security of the state of São Paulo, Guilherme Derrite, to investigate, to respond, your office?
Bobo, imagine if he had responded with the indictment now.
So, but since there was the promise of the investigation moving forward, I understood the following, Pittori. Put yourself in your place. Put yourself in your place. I got it.
When it works, we will present it. Delaying. It certainly took a while. However, the federal police anticipate and indicate, showing that, in fact, everything that Patrick came and reported here throughout the interviews he gave to Auri Verde happened. In other words, the person who failed to give me the answer was the Secretary of Public Security of the state of São Paulo, Guilherme Derrite. If you still have an answer to give me, I'd love to hear it. However, there is a mismatch between what he promised and what he didn't deliver, and in the middle of that, this indictment by the federal police.
And I would very much like to be present at this interview. If the secretary is listening, if someone is taking it to him, I would very much like to even mainly question him why he has not responded, because these questions are contained in that letter. Why no action was taken in Aracatuba, who has now been indicted, is one of the questions, okay? You have some questions related to that. I wonder why he hasn't responded yet.
Patrick, are you still attempting to extricate yourself from this Bauru situation and shift focus to Adelio, his children, and President Bolsonaro? Has anyone inquired about this since our last conversation? What prompts my inquiries toward you?
And asking that question, because really, Patrick, you are a witness to this. I was alone in this press with media outlets that reached out to me and inquired if Patrick could speak. I assured them without hesitation, just talk to him, right? Just as he was candid with me, I understand he'll be candid with you. However, everyone's interest in listening dwindled after Gilberto Kassab's name came up.
While it was simply, look at Patrick. He hacked Carlos, Eduardo, and Flavio, in addition to his father, Jair Bolsonaro, and Adelio Bispo. While that was the whole point, Pitoli, what's he like? What's it gonna be like? No, okay, when Patrick brings up Kasabianisa's name, nobody runs out. I was alone in this, you know, Patrick.
So Pitoli, firstly, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to you, Councilman Borgo. What about Councilman Borg? He is a witness because all this time I always send and mails to him with the updates I have of the case, although so I do not have access to everything and an add-on is. For example, the issue recently arose that Councilor Stella would have been forced via a court decision to pay a post that she would have made in relation to Mayor Sueli Rosen. And in the press came out, so the statements of a hacker. My name does not appear in all traditional media outlets. I disappeared Pitole, my name does not appear. Is it? So, just as if I were a forbidden subject after Derrite, it was me who gave that interview to you, because this one of mine, this hearing of mine there at the Internal Affairs Department, it was arranged with Delegate Lisandra. Paula Bueno, who is an advisor to the DGP, is Arthur Jose Dian. And that's when an emissara came to talk to me and said, oh, Patrick, you're going to deputize. You're going to denounce the civil police. But here's the thing. You forget Kassab. You won't talk about Kassab.
Oh, God.
From the sky. So like this, the condition, because they know how important it is for me to denounce Delegate Carlos Ricotay and his team. He knows how important this is to me for the parishes, etc. What do you mean? Oh, you're going to report the cops. We will investigate the cops here, but on one condition, you will spare Kassab. And did you see in those documents that I sent you, Pitoli, and that I also sent to Didi Red Pill, there are the US, I took a screenshot of the emails that I hacked into Skype to President Jair Bolsonaro's iCloud, showing that the invasion really took place. So it's not such a thing that I lied, understood you, and evidence. Then I was stopped. I was precluded by the São Paulo Public Security Secretariat and the Secretary of Security, Guilherme Derrite, using an emissary, from discussing Kassab and Delio Bispo. I was obstructed. So what was my reward? I was detained here in November for 25 days. Why? They believed that Serra would capture me and extradite me to Brazil. However, I was released and now I have the freedom to speak.
Yeah.
Patrick?
So like this.
Patrick.
Only one?
Only.
A question I think is very important. If you fear for your life, if you are extradited, if you come to Brazil, do you fear for your physical integrity? Do you think you can be murdered? It is here in Brazil as archive burning.
I'm sure, Councilman, especially because there is a recording of Deputy Kotar promising to kill me. I made a representation against him for threat equation in the course of the process, and a delegate who is subordinate to him, which Alessandra Lopez Diaz ordered to be archived because she said that more than 6 months had passed. But the 6-month period counts from the moment What do I know about the fact? I heard about the suit. After I got out of prison, I reported it. I made a representation against the two of them, right? At the Central Registry Office of the Capital Internal Affairs. When I was heard there by Dr. Fernando de Paula, I talked about it. Then they won't be investigating. They didn't do anything, Counselor, nothing. They are passing the cloth until they no longer want the civil police because, oh, melt it, he came. Indeed, I ordered it to be investigated for later. He mentioned that I did not present evidence, but I have all the emails and the links to the evidence. I can present the links here, but not now, because it is confidential. I don't want to ruin the investigation, but I have it now. You know what they did to Officer Edson, who was the target? They ordered the establishment of a PAD, an administrative process in São José dos Campos. They took it out of Aracatuba so they could send Edson away for Derrite. I came to say the following, we investigated, But whoever passed things to Patrick was Edson. He understood that he was in charge there. No, he wasn't the delegate. So, like this. It's the influential people. Kassab Kotayet, not those connections with Opsdo, his cousin Alfredo Kotayet Neto. These individuals don't want to investigate or respond. The only ones who need to answer are Patrick and Edson's piranha ox, right? And now the federal police indict Valmir. You're going to have to start the pepper because we're going to order it there. I'm going to talk to the prosecutor responsible for this. And then they will have to investigate other people because it is not possible crimes involving a former president of the Republic, an assassination attempt against a former president of the Republic and his son, and the Secretary of Public Security of São Paulo does nothing and prevents me from speaking because in order not to disturb the governability of the governor, Tarcisio. So, Tarcisio, aren't you going to do anything? What about the media? The counselor remains silent, despite the seriousness of the complaints. You saw in the survey, you have iCloud, you have Facebook, EOE, mail, with all the contacts of Vice President Hamilton Moreau. No, there was no investigation, no investigation. That's absurd, isn't it? Now, the one who answers is me. I who answers.
Patrick, I'm going to thank you for the contact, for the opportunity to listen to you.
It is certain that we will most likely have to have a new conversation, and we will schedule it for it. Thank you, C. Patrick.
Thank you, Victoria. Thank you, Borgo, and have a good day there to everyone.
Thank you, Patrick Brito, the indicted hacker, for talking to us straight from Sevilla.